Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we're exploring a substance of profound paradoxes. Imagine a toxin so potent that a single gram, perfectly aerosolized and distributed, could theoretically kill over 1 million people. Now, imagine that same substance is one of the most sought-after medical treatments in the world, voluntarily injected into millions of people every year to smooth wrinkles, stop migraines, and treat dozens of debilitating conditions. This isn't science fiction. This is the incredible story of botulinum toxin, better known by its most famous brand name, Botox. It's a journey that starts with a deadly sausage and ends in the modern doctor's office. Our story begins not in a pristine laboratory, but with a series of mysterious deaths in the late 18th century. In the kingdom of Württemberg, a region in southwestern Germany, people were falling ill and dying after consuming a local delicacy, blood sausages. These tragic incidents of what became known as sausage poisoning were so frequent that they prompted public health warnings. It was here that a German physician and poet named Justinus Kerner took a deep interest. Between 1817 and 1822, Kerner meticulously documented the cases. He published the first highly detailed and accurate clinical descriptions of the symptoms we now recognize as botulism. Through his observations and even experiments on animals, he deduced that the illness was caused by a biological poison that developed in improperly prepared sausages, specifically under anaerobic or oxygen-free conditions. He called it sausage poison. Kerner noted its powerful effect on the nervous system, observing how it caused muscle paralysis and its extreme lethality even in tiny amounts. But what makes Kerner's work truly remarkable is his foresight. In his writings, he postulated that this potent toxin, if it could ever be isolated and controlled, might one day have therapeutic applications for conditions involving muscle hyperactivity. He was a man more than a century ahead of his time. The next major leap in understanding this mysterious poison wouldn't happen until 1895, in the small Belgian village of Elazels. A local music club had a meal together, and afterward, a number of the musicians fell gravely ill after eating the same smoked ham. A Belgian scientist, Emile Pierre van Ermengem, was called to investigate the outbreak. His methodical work led him to isolate and identify the culprit, a bacterium he named Clostridium botulinum. Van Ermengem definitively proved that it wasn't the sausage or the ham itself that was poisonous, but a powerful neurotoxin produced by these bacteria living within the food. And where did the name botulism come from? It was actually coined earlier, in 1870, by another German physician named Müller, who derived it from the Latin word for sausage, botulus. For the first half of the 20th century, scientific interest in botulinum toxin grew, but initially, it was for a much darker purpose. During World War II, its incredible potency made it a prime candidate for bioweapons research programs around the world. In the United States, at Fort Detrick, Maryland, this military research had an unexpected and profoundly positive consequence. In the 1940s, a team led by Dr. Edward J. Shantz succeeded in a critical task. They were able to isolate and purify botulinum toxin type A into a stable, crystalline form. This was the breakthrough that moved the toxin from a mysterious contaminant in food to a substance that could be studied, measured, and eventually used in medicine. Without this purified, stable form, none of the medical applications we see today would be possible. With the war over, scientific focus shifted from weaponizing the toxin to understanding precisely how it worked. In the 1950s, a scientist named Dr. Vernon Brooks made another key discovery. He demonstrated that botulinum toxin works by blocking the release of a specific chemical messenger called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter. It's the signal that a nerve sends to a muscle to tell it to contract. By inhibiting this signal, the toxin effectively cuts the communication line, resulting in muscle paralysis. This detailed understanding of its neuromuscular blocking effect was the final piece of the scientific puzzle needed to unlock its therapeutic potential. The person who put that puzzle together was an American ophthalmologist named Dr. Alan B. Scott. In the 1970s, Dr. Scott was searching for a non-surgical treatment for strabismus, more commonly known as crossed eyes. Strabismus is caused by an imbalance in the muscles that control eye movement. Dr. Scott's brilliant idea was to use the paralyzing effect of botulinum toxin to his advantage. He theorized that if he could inject a minuscule, carefully controlled dose directly into an overactive eye muscle, he could weaken it just enough to allow the opposing muscles to straighten the eye. After years of painstaking research and successful experiments in monkeys, Dr. Scott performed the first human treatment for strabismus in 1980. The results were revolutionary. He had successfully used a deadly poison to correct a medical condition without a single surgical incision. The pharmaceutical company Allergan quickly recognized the immense commercial potential of Dr. Scott's work. They licensed the treatment, which was initially named botulinum. In 1989, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, granted its approval for botulinum to treat two conditions: strabismus, as Dr. Scott had pioneered, and blepharospasm, a disorder causing uncontrollable eyelid spasms. A few years later, in 1992, Allergan acquired the rights to the drug outright and rebranded it with the name that would soon become a global phenomenon, Botox. This marked the beginning of a true medical revolution. With the toxin now available as a standardized approved drug, researchers and clinicians began exploring a vast range of other potential uses. The list of subsequent FDA approvals tells a story of ever-expanding utility. In 2000, it was approved for cervical dystonia, a painful neurological disorder that causes the neck and shoulder muscles to contract involuntarily. In 2004, an approval came for treating severe underarm sweating, or hyperhidrosis, by blocking the nerve signals that activate sweat glands. The list goes on. In 2010, Botox was approved as a preventative treatment for chronic migraine, a life-changing development for people who suffer from headaches 15 or more days a month. In the same year, it was approved for upper limb spasticity, reducing debilitating muscle stiffness in the arms and hands of stroke survivors. In 2011, it was approved for urinary incontinence caused by neurologic conditions like spinal cord injury. Today, it's even used off-label, meaning without a specific FDA approval, for dozens of other issues, from teeth grinding and jaw clenching to certain types of chronic pain. But the story that catapulted Botox from a niche medical treatment to a household name happened almost by accident. In the late 1980s, a Canadian ophthalmologist named Dr. Jean Carruthers was using Botox to treat her patient's blepharospasm, the uncontrollable eye twitching. One of her patients, in addition to being happy about her twitching being gone, noticed an interesting and welcome side effect. The deep frown lines between her eyebrows had become dramatically smoother. Intrigued, Dr. Carruthers mentioned this to her husband, Dr. Alistair Carruthers, who was a dermatologist. The couple realized they had stumbled upon something huge. They began to formally study the cosmetic potential of the toxin, meticulously documenting how injecting tiny amounts into specific facial muscles could relax them, which in turn smoothed the overlying skin and erased the wrinkles caused by expression. Their research ignited a firestorm. The demand for cosmetic Botox treatments exploded long before it was officially sanctioned. Finally, in 2002, the FDA gave its official approval for what was now branded as Botox Cosmetic for the temporary improvement of moderate to severe glabellar lines, the frown lines between the eyebrows. This was followed by approvals for crow's feet in 2013 and forehead lines in the years after. Today, botulinum toxin injections are the single most popular non-surgical cosmetic procedure in the world, with millions of treatments administered every year. So how does this microscopic poison achieve these remarkable effects? The science happens at the molecular level at a place called the neuromuscular junction. This is the precise point where a nerve cell communicates with a muscle fiber. Here's a simplified breakdown. First, the toxin molecule is incredibly specific. It binds only to the nerve endings of cholinergic neurons, which are the nerves that release the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. Second, once it's bound to the outside of the nerve cell, the cell takes it inside, in a small bubble-like vesicle. Third, and this is the critical step, once inside the nerve cell, a part of the toxin molecule acts like a tiny pair of molecular scissors. It finds and cuts specific proteins like SNAP25, that are absolutely essential for the nerve to release acetylcholine. Without these proteins, the vesicle containing the acetylcholine message can't fuse with the cell membrane to release its contents. The final result is that the nerve can no longer send the contract signal to the muscle. This leads to a temporary and reversible paralysis, or more accurately, a relaxation of the injected muscle. When used cosmetically, this targeted muscle relaxation is what smooths out dynamic wrinkles, the lines created by repeated facial movements like frowning, squinting, or raising your eyebrows. The skin on top of the relaxed muscle gets a chance to smooth out. The effects aren't permanent, because the body is incredibly resilient. Over a period of about 3 to 4 months, the nerve endings gradually sprout new connections and regenerate the proteins that were cleaved, restoring the ability to release acetylcholine and allowing muscle action to return. Now, while Botox has become the catch-all term, like Kleenex for tissues, it's important to know that it is just one brand name for one type of botulinum toxin. There are actually 7 main serotypes of the neurotoxin, labeled A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. The types most commonly used in medicine are type A and, to a lesser extent, type B. And even within type A, there are several different FDA-approved brands. Besides Botox, there's Dysport, Xeomin, Jeuveau, and a newer one called Daxxify. There is also an approved type B toxin called MyoBlock. These products are not interchangeable. They have different molecular structures, potencies, and formulations, which is why it's absolutely critical that they are only administered by qualified healthcare professionals who understand these nuances. So what about safety? After all, we are talking about the most potent natural toxin known to science. The key is the dose. When administered by a trained and licensed medical professional, in tiny, therapeutic doses, botulinum toxin has a remarkably favorable safety profile. The procedure involves a few small injections with a very fine needle and is considered minimally invasive. However, it is a medical treatment, and it comes with potential side effects. The most common are temporary and localized to the injection site, including some minor pain, swelling, or bruising. Headaches can also occur. Occasionally, if the toxin spreads a little bit from the intended muscle, it can cause unwanted effects, like a temporary drooping of an eyelid or eyebrow, or a crooked smile. These effects wear off as the toxin does. More serious side effects are rare, but they can happen if the toxin spreads systemically throughout the body. This could cause symptoms similar to botulism itself, such as widespread muscle weakness, vision problems, difficulty speaking or swallowing, or breathing difficulties. If any of these symptoms occur after a treatment, it's crucial to seek immediate medical attention. The story of botulinum toxin is a powerful testament to scientific curiosity and the incredible journey a substance can take. It began as a feared and deadly poison, responsible for tragic deaths from contaminated food. Through decades of painstaking research, it was demystified, purified, and repurposed. It was transformed from a potential weapon of war into a powerful tool for healing, bringing relief to millions suffering from debilitating medical disorders. And through a stroke of serendipity, it also became the world's leading cosmetic treatment, changing the face of aesthetic medicine forever. This journey from deadly poison to fountain of youth is far from over. Researchers continue to explore new applications for this versatile molecule, proving that sometimes, in the most unlikely of places, we can find the potential for healing and renewal. Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online.